NFL exec, president, NFL figurehead for a long, long time. More than long you guys in this chat's been alive. So everybody pound that like, subscribe. Former NFL exec Jeff Diamond joins the show. Can't thank him enough.
Yeah.
Jeff, appreciate you, brother.
How you doing?
Hi guys, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, man? I got to ask you one question. Why in the hell did you ever try to get Shaun Salisbury in Minnesota? There's no way.
Shaun's a longtime friend, and he was an excellent quarterback for us for several years. Did a great job.
No doubt. Hey, it's claim to fame. Jeff, every day, JB, I'm undefeated versus John Elway. Shut the hell up.
Right. Exactly.
I do a show after this with him every day. So I've known Shaun a long time. He's a good dude, California guy like me. So I got to dive right into this. My boy Darnell, he works at Fox and covers Michael Irvin and them every day. So he's we getting this thing going, man. So I appreciate you jumping on here. The wealth of knowledge you have. Do you know Craig?
Craig Larson?
No. I'm sorry. Do you know Chad? He's kind of the big wig at DV Sport who used to help the Vikings for a long, long time.
Chad Abbott you're talking about?
Oslin?
Oh, yeah, I know Chad, sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. He said to tell you hi because he's a Minnesota guy himself, so he's been up there with the Vikings for a long time. Let me ask you something right away. The team in Minnesota that was you guys won 15 games with and unbelievable. I just got to ask you, how did you come about putting that team together? And then how exciting was it with Randall at an all-time high and then Dante came after, I believe, or vice versa. But with Carter and Moss and Robert Smith, short-lived career, how exciting was that team?
Yeah, it was a fantastic season, and we had been building for it for several years. And the interesting story behind, of course, the Randy Moss draft that year and our first round pick in 1998. So we were really looking defense in that draft and looking at a number of defensive players. We'd been to the playoffs the year before, beat the Giants and got knocked out. But when we came into that draft, we had Randy Moss rated as a top 5 player, but he was sliding due to some of the questions, some old character questions. But we were fortunate to have a scout, Conrad Cardano, who had worked with the Marshall coaches, and they were talking obviously that Randy was a great talent and had no issues. And so as he was falling in that draft back in 1998, I got on the phone with Chris Carter and I said, "Hey, Chris, if we draft Randy, will you help mentor him?" And Chris, of course, our Hall of Fame receiver, all-pro receiver. And Chris said, "Absolutely, because I know what kind of great talent he is." And as it turned out, he fell all the way to 21. We thought Dallas would take him at 8. They passed on him. And lo and behold, he's there at number 21 for us. And we draft him. He's Offensive Rookie of the Year, a big part of our team that goes 15-1. And of course, the other part of that story was Brad Johnson was our starting quarterback to start the year. And then Brad gets hurt in week 2. Randall Cunningham comes in, former Pro Bowl quarterback with the Eagles, of course, as you guys know. And Randall, all he did was keep winning and winning and winning. And Brad Johnson couldn't get his job back. And Brad Johnson, a great quarterback, I ended up trading him to Washington the next year for a first, second, and third round pick. But a great season. It ended so sadly. The worst loss of my NFL career when we had the 7-point lead against Atlanta with 2 minutes to go. And we end up losing in overtime. Gary Anderson had the missed field goal that he hadn't missed a kick all year. Just a crazy finish to that game. And I thought, I don't know when I'm going to get back to a Super Bowl. I went to the Super Bowl my first season with the Vikings and ended up waiting 22 years to get back to a Super Bowl my first year with Tennessee the next year. So it's crazy how things work out. But that was certainly a very memorable season, the 1998 season for the Vikings.
Let me ask you this, and obviously, hindsight is 2020, but just knowing that team and that dynamic and how talented you guys were, if you guys went ahead and pulled off that victory against the Falcons, which it looked like and sounded like you guys probably should have, do you think you guys would have went on and won the Super Bowl against that? I think it was the Broncos who won that year, right?
It was the Broncos, and I think it would have been a great game.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple guys come out of that NFC Championship game with some injuries, and including our top running back Robert Smith. So it's hard to say how things would have unfolded over the next couple of weeks, but I would think that with the Super Bowl, these guys would have found a way to play. And as I said, we were so dynamic offensively that year, set an NFL record for points scored, and it would have been a great game with the Denver Broncos in that Super Bowl.
No doubt. Hey, we like dogs. Don't worry, I got some here, so they're listening to your dogs. My dogs are under my table, so I get it. Hey, let me ask you something. Going fast forward real quick to Tennessee, I'm good friends with Eddie George and a lot of those guys that you had in that team. And what year was that? 99. My Rams. I'm an LA Ram guy. That one Dyson's 1 yard short deal. How heartbreaking was that? I mean, that's an ignorant question, probably putting that team together. But like, how close was it? I guess, and how many plays do you look back at and say, "Gosh, I mean, we could actually won this game"? Because I remember watching that vividly. You had a lot of opportunities in that game to win that game, and as the Rams did, right? It always does. It can go either way. But how close was that game, and how like just nauseating is that watching that play come down to the 1 yard line?
Definitely was. And I would say this, it was less heartbreaking, obviously heartbreaking to lose a Super Bowl and the way it happened, but at least we got to the Super Bowl that year compared to the year before with the Vikings. And it was just such a roller coaster couple of years for me. But that game, we fell behind the Rams early and had a great rally and came down to that last play. And Steve McNair hits Kevin Dyson down to the about 1 foot line, and he can't quite extend the ball. And
Mike Jones.
I remember very vividly being on the sidelines because they had us come down to the field in case we won for the trophies presentation. And wow, that was certainly a tough finish to a fantastic season in my first year in Tennessee, definitely.
It's crazy that you went back. I mean, like, you had so much success as we're just looking back just over your tenure and your career. It's like you go from NFC Championship game that was literally a play away to make it to the Super Bowl to the very next year in the Super Bowl, a play away from winning that. I guess my question is, like, where does all this, or where did this success come from? Like, what made you so great at what you did?
Well, I just think I was fortunate to work with a lot of great people in both Minnesota and Tennessee, and great coaches. I started my career with Bud Grant, the Hall of Fame coach with the Vikings, and
wow,
and had a great run in the 90s. As Dennis Green was our head coach at that time, and we helped build up that roster with a great support staff, excellent scouting staff, and then going down to Tennessee. And having a longtime friend, Floyd Reese, as the GM, Jeff Fisher, a great head coach, but the talent level was there when I went to Tennessee, and they just moved from Houston, just kind of getting the footings in Nashville at that point in time, and just a really memorable season with just a lot of talented players and Hall of Fame players and guys like Bruce Matthews on that team, and Javon Curse and Eddie George and Steve McNair, and just really fun experiences with both places, but just working with really good people and having good cohesion in the organization, great scouting department, great support staff. It's all part of it, but above and beyond everything else, you've got to have the players. And I think one of the things that helped turn the tide for us in Tennessee was drafting Javon Curse. And kind of the interesting story there, since we're a week away from draft week, I actually, that season in the draft, we drafted Dante Culpepper in Minnesota, and after that draft was when my contract was up, and I was a free agent, and I had this offer to be a president in Tennessee. Went down to Tennessee, but after we had drafted Dante in the first round, I got on the phone with Floyd Reese trying to trade up to draft to take Javon Curse, and he said, "No, not our guy." And when I went to Tennessee, I said to Floyd, "I'm sure glad you didn't make that trade," because Javon Curse had to end up being Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Man, was Bullock on that team?
He came, I think, a year later. Actually,
a year later. Got you. Now, how long were you on that? How long were you there? Another year?
Yeah, I was in Tennessee for 5 years as the president, and then I went into the consulting world and actually started working in the agent world, where I still work today with a firm called IFA out of Minneapolis, and we're excited for the draft next week. We got about 7 guys that are draft eligible, and the draft is always a great time of year. I love the draft, the intrigue, the excitement, all the smoke screens out there about what teams are going to do and who's going to trade, who's not going to trade, and sure enough, we'll know soon enough where Shedeur Sanders goes. Is he the third quarterback? Is he a top 10 quarterback? Where does he go? Is Cam Ward number 1? Abdul Carter, where does he go? And so it's going to be really fun to see what teams such as the Giants do at 3, the Browns do. I'm looking forward to the draft next week for sure.
Hey, Jeff, that's why I'm excited to have you on, man. I can't thank you enough. The insight that you have, plus the agency that you work with now, and I know a lot of agents that represent. I got 20 guys in the league still. I had 28 at one point. I got to ask you, let's talk about a couple of those guys you just mentioned. Is Cam Ward the for sure gone number 1?
Well, you would think so, but stranger things have happened. If all of a sudden somebody trades up and wants, but usually if they trade up, they're going to be trading up for a quarterback.
Yeah.
The thing about this class is it's just not at the caliber of last year's quarterback class, and maybe that will change as they perform in the NFL. Maybe Cam Ward will be a great player. Maybe Shedeur Sanders will be. Maybe it's Jackson Dart. Who knows who emerges out of that class? But we're not going to see 6 first-round quarterbacks like we did last year. No. I think that's pretty much a given.
Can you see Shedeur slipping out of the first round?
No, I don't think he'll slip out of the first round. But I could see him sliding perhaps
21,
bottom of the top 10, and maybe even could be 10 to 15. But I think there are enough teams that are still looking for quarterbacks, and with his track record of being a successful quarterback, even though there are some questions about his athleticism or whatever, his arm strength. But no, quarterbacks are always drafted higher than perhaps they should be.
Right.
No doubt. Let me ask you one more thing about that. The Giants, in regards to them, you're the GM for the Giants, and you got a coach that's, I don't want to call him a lame duck because I'm a former coach, obviously, and I hate to use the term, but like Brian Daboll's probably coaching for his job in this profession, as you would know more than anybody. Does he have the luxury to take a quarterback at 3? Doesn't he have to fill some roster spots on the roster that needs a lot more than, I guess, a quarterback after signing a two-year deal, Jameis Winston, a 1-year deal, Russell Wilson? Are they have to build, or do you see them possibly doing that for the future? Is that a GM head coach decision, collaboration, or is that coming from the owner on down and saying, hey, build this team now, win now, go get Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter if he's available, whoever, best available? Or are you building a QB? Are you trying to get a QB at 3 for the next head coach if it's not Daboll?
No, I agree with you. I think that because of the pressure that is on Daboll and on the GM, I really see them picking the best position player and going with Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and perhaps using maybe that early second-round pick, and maybe at that point they can get a Jalen Milroe or somebody like that, or who knows at that point in time. I see that as the more likely course when you've got a coach and a GM who need to win this year. And how much would they love to see Travis Hunter drop to that spot?
I know.
I don't know if that's going to happen, that he's going to fall to number 3. But if he's there, I think that they probably would jump on him in a heartbeat with the playmaking ability that he brings on both sides of the ball. So I don't see them taking Sanders that high. I think that they're going to go for really the position that can really help their team the most. And maybe that's an offensive lineman, because we know that they've had trouble protecting the quarterback in recent years. And Russell Wilson is going to need some protection.
No question.
Yeah, no, for sure. You just mentioned the name Travis Hunter and talked about how dynamic he is on both sides of the ball. Do you see him actually having a real opportunity of playing on both sides? And I guess my bigger question is, if you're the president of a team or GM of a team, are you actually encouraging that from your head coach to allow him to do that?
He is such a fantastic player and great athlete that yes, I think he will be on both sides of the ball. I expect him to be a full-time corner.
Okay.
And kind of spot in as a third receiver.
Okay.
I think that's probably the likely role, especially in his first year. It's just, I think, too much to ask for a guy to play 130, 140 snaps in a game.
Yeah.
It used to happen in the old days. We know that, but I don't see that happening in this case and taking the injury risk with a player of that caliber. But I think he's certainly a great enough wide receiver that he'll get snaps. And as I said, it could be as a third guy, but who knows? Maybe he will play every down. That would be crazy, but it's possible.
No doubt. There's rumors out there that Travis Hunter is circulating. There's rumors out there allegedly, I'm not going to play if I can't play both ways. You get a demand like that, let's just say it is real. From a GM's perspective or a coaching perspective, when you come to drafting them, are you having that conversation with him privately? Like, hey, man, are you serious about this? Or, we want you to be able to play a long, long time in this league, and we want you to have success. We're not going to set you up for failure in your first year and try to play you 130 snaps in your first rookie campaign. Is that how does that work? If there's a rumor out there about this kid going out there and saying, I'm not going to play then, if you're not letting me play both ways and starting, is that even a thing?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a situation where you're going to draft the guy. He's going to sign a great rookie contract, and then he's going to play. He's not gonna not play if he's got that contract as the second or third player in the draft. I don't see that happening.
No doubt.
His position coach and the head coach is going to have a conversation with him when they draft him and say, hey, we want you to play on both sides of the ball, and not make any commitments about how much he's going to play. No
question. I got to ask you a veteran question real quick. Regarding a former team of yours, the Minnesota Vikings, they're a hot discussion. They had a kid of Sam Darnold, who I'm higher on than a lot. Had a great year for you guys. Struggled at the end or whatever as you get to the better teams and the playoffs, and so they make a decision there and they move on. Is this a foregone conclusion that JJ, who hasn't played really an NFL snap yet, is the guy, or is Aaron Rodgers a real possibility there? Is that a real possibility still, or is JJ, it's his team and it's go time?
I think it's going to be JJ's team. I think that the organization has so much confidence in Kevin O'Connell as a quarterback whisperer, head coach, and the great job that he did with Darnold, and the great job he did with Kirk Cousins, getting him the best years of his career. Yeah. And so I think, and I certainly agree with that thinking, that there's such a great supporting cast in Minnesota with O'Connell, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones on offense, an offensive line that they've beefed up in free agency, and they've got two bookend tackles. Darisaw will be back from his injury. So there's such a great supporting cast for J.J. McCarthy, and he did a lot of really good things last year in training camp before he got hurt in that first preseason game. So it's not like he's coming in totally new. He had an off season. He had a training camp for at least half the training camp. He was around the whole season, absorbed the offense, and I think, given his track record of success at Michigan, even though he didn't have to throw it a lot there, but he won a national championship. He still made a lot of plays with his arms, with his legs. They want him to take the reins. If it doesn't work out or if he gets hurt again, I think after the draft, they are going to sign a veteran guy. They're not going to count on Brett Rippon as their number two. They're going to sign either Ryan Tannehill. It could be, who knows who else could be out there at that point. I don't think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that they want to go there with the drama that Aaron brings. And not only that, the fact that, hey, if Aaron Rodgers comes, he's going to be the starter. He's not going to play number 2. And if he has a pretty good year with that supporting cast, then all of a sudden McCarthy's not going to play probably in 2026 either. And then he's sitting for 3 years.
Good point.
Worked out okay for Jordan Love, but teams want that quarterback that they draft in the first round. They want that rookie contract that they can build around. And I don't think they're going to want to pay that number 2 quarterback more than about $10 to $15 million plus big incentives. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to come for that money. I think he'll end up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think so too. Real quick, Jeff, I got to ask you a question. Is there a possibility that Shedeur is not the second quarterback taken?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Anything can happen. And Michael Penix Jr. jumped up last year.
Yeah.
Into the top 10 and was unexpected, especially unexpected by Kirk Cousins. So it can definitely happen that maybe Dart, maybe Milroe, who knows who a team falls in love with. But I expect Shedeur Sanders to be the second quarterback. But it would not be a shock if all of a sudden Jackson Dart ends up being picked ahead of him.
I like the Louisville kid. I told Smitty I like the Louisville kid. I think he's the best pure thrower of the football in this class. I don't know how high he'll go because of his name and recognition and all that stuff, but I know he's older. He's been around a lot. I just like his delivery. I think he's the most, I guess, ready guy as far as that goes. Is he Cam Ward? Probably not. But as far as just a pure thrower of the football, I like the kid. I think I won't be shocked if he moves up the board.
Yeah, and that's possible, absolutely. But I think at that point you're talking about early second round quarterback, and that doesn't mean he's not going to be a great NFL quarterback.
Sure.
You think about where
Brady and everybody else
first went in the second round, Russell Wilson in the third round, even Lamar Jackson was late first round.
So, we see how great he is.
Yeah, exactly. So they're
average.
It really. The truth of the matter is, and I always said that to our players when we pick them and we draft them, it doesn't really matter. What matters is what happens from here and how you take advantage of your opportunity. And that's what's going to tell the tale for these rookies. Are they going to be a great player in the NFL, or are they going to be a bust? And so it's you look at first-round quarterbacks, and historically about half of them don't pan out. So we'll see how it shakes out.
No doubt.
No, it's definitely interesting. My question is more of a broader one, just so for my own education and the fans as well. Walk me through the actual process, though, like of draft day. Like, what's the chain of command? What's the how do you guys come together with the consensus of okay, we're going with this person. This is who we want. Like, are you coming in to draft day with the full list of order of importance, and as those guys get, off the board, you kind of just reshuffle the deck? Walk me through that process.
Yeah, I think basically what we did with our teams is we would always have about 5 guys on our sideboard. Of course, we had the whole big draft board with all the ratings and the rankings and everything. But we had kind of a priority list of about 5 players. And as we watched them be plucked away, which was always frustrating. Yeah. But usually there were a couple of those people that were left when your pick came. And it was really important, I always felt, and I know it's certainly a cliche, but don't overlook a potentially great player to take a good player at a position of need. And we all kind of live by that with the Vikings, with the Titans. And we would take really the best player available, unless, and if there were 2 players that were fairly equal, then you go to your position of need. But I think where teams make big mistakes is where they draft purely for need and don't go with their rankings, don't go with their ratings, and they could give up a potentially blue chip future Pro Bowl player just because they don't need him right immediately. And right. That's a big mistake that I think teams make.
Jeff, I can't thank you enough for coming. I got to ask you a couple things real quick before you get out of here, please. Can Ashton Genty move up and shock the world and be taken at 3 by the Giants? Is there any world scenario of that?
Well, maybe because they're still upset that Saquon Barkley is gone.
That's my point. Like, does he have to eat crow at some point and say, not that I'm going to replace Saquon. I like Ashton Genty a lot. He's not as quick burst and he's not as fast straight line, but I think he can play 7-8 years in the league and give good production. But is that the guy though? If there is a one that you say, hey, I got to eat crow a little bit here.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think he's more likely to go down maybe 6 to the Raiders or something like that. But hey, it's definitely possible. And Saquon was the second pick in the draft? It can happen. I'll be surprised. I'll put it that way if the Giants go there, because that would be just a total admission that they screwed up by letting Saquon get out the door.
That's my whole take. And the second part of this, I got to ask you, without not even draft, but just I want to put you in Lynch's shoes in Frisco. What's going on there? Like, they got rid of a lot of talent, obviously, and I know they have a lot. They've attained a lot of picks. I know 26 is a big year for them as well. This whole Brock Purdy thing, if they cut so much, let's say quote unquote dead weight, obviously it's to sign Brock Purdy, right? Or is it? Like, I'm confused here on why he hasn't signed yet, if that was the whole ploy from the jump. And they've had a roster that's kind of aged in front of our very eyes, either with injury or what have you, and don't have a ring to show for it. At least McVay and the Rams got that ring when they sold out and went out and did everything they did with less need. What's going on with Lynch and Shanahan and Frisco with this Purdy deal, to your knowledge or to your best guess?
Yeah, I expect them to get the Purdy deal done, and I think it's right now that maybe Purdy's agent is asking more than the 49ers want to give on a guy that had a little bit of injury history, had a little bit of, shall we say, lesser production at times last season.
Bust rider.
So maybe they want to sign him for a Daniel Jones type deal around $40 million a year.
Woo!
And no, we want 50 plus because that's where the going rate is for quarterbacks, and Brock Purdy has been a Pro Bowl quarterback. So I just think it's gonna happen at some point in time. And as far as the 49ers, yeah, it's a curious situation with letting a lot of good players leave, and whether it's cap issues or whatever that's happened there, and trading Deebo Samuel. So I think the 49ers are a team that definitely needs to restock quickly and stay healthy, because they've just been so banged up, Christian McCaffrey, et cetera, and that's really hurt them in the past.
Let me ask you. I'm just going to touch up on that right there real quick, Smitty. Like, why haven't they signed Purdy yet? If they've released that money, they have that space. What would be the reason that you wouldn't sign him yet before the draft? Yeah,
it's like I said, it is kind of curious, but I just think it could be a financial situation. And hey, maybe they've got their eye on a quarterback that they're thinking, maybe they love Jackson Dart. Who knows what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are thinking at this point?
Another Trey Lance they can't afford, right?
No, they can't afford another mistake in the first round with a quarterback. And so, yeah, I expect them to take a position player, a talented guy at number 11. But hey, stranger things have happened on draft day, and anything can happen. And San Francisco is definitely a team to watch.
And my second part to that, same question. Like, it's fourth part, but the second part to this. Let me ask you this. Where does Brock Purdy hold any leverage at this stage in the game? Because I don't believe he does. I don't believe there's a team, Jeff, in the NFL right now, and if Jeff is the GM somewhere, that's going to give this man $60 million. There's only a handful of teams that haven't signed a veteran at this stage or don't have a long-term guy in place, like a Trevor Lawrence. They already paid 200-something plus to Kyler Murray, all these scenarios. I'm looking around the league. There's really not who is it? Is it Indianapolis? Is it who would it be? The Jets? Like, who's going to really sign this guy for this big money? I think the Niners hold all the leverage.
Yeah, well, I think you're right to a certain extent. I mean, he is their starting quarterback. He has been to a Pro Bowl. He did take them to the NFC Championship and
Super Bowl
and the Super Bowl
and played well.
Yeah, the guy I still think is a really good quarterback. I just think it's a situation where the 49ers want to see a little bit more at this stage of his career, and they're probably, as I said, thinking about something in the 40s, and Purdy's camp is thinking about something in the 50s. I don't think he's looking at 60. I think he's looking at those mid 50s, where guys like Lawrence and I mean.
Tua got 53 and a half. Lawrence got 55. Because if I'm Brock Purdy, Jeff, I'm saying to myself, I've had more success than Trevor Lawrence, more success than Tua. I've been to NFC Championship. I've been to a Super Bowl where I outplayed Mahomes in that loss. But look at the game. He outplayed Mahomes. My numbers are there. I've checked every box, and I've been playing on a quote unquote discount because he was Mr. Relevant. We know what his contract was. So it's like, if I'm him, there's no way I'm taking less than 53 and a half. Like, you're not paying me less than Tua.
But Jeff,
Tua's the bar.
But Jeff, if that scenario is right and true, what Smitty just said, who out there is the suitor for him? If he says no, get screwed. I'm not going to play here then. There is nobody left, Smitty, is my point.
Well, first of all, the problem is he's under contract, so he can't go unless
that's the thing. Yeah,
come on, next year though.
They're not him because he's a big asset to their team.
Yeah,
and there are certainly teams that would, if he was available, they're going to pay him in the 50s at some point in the 50s. But
the Titans,
sure, as we're saying. Hey, Jordan Love got paid, and he had what, 8 starts at that point. Now he had, but he didn't have as much success as Brock Purdy did.
Nope.
But again, Brock Purdy had a great supporting cast, so it's a hard situation. I just think it's contract negotiations that are going on, and perhaps the 49ers are kind of holding that card of, we could draft a quarterback, So we'll see how it shakes out, but I expect them to get a deal done. It's just part of the process.
Yeah,
no doubt. Jeff, I can't thank you enough, man, to come on here and give us the insight that only you have. And good luck to your guys. Hopefully they get drafted and you represent. And good luck to you and everybody. And hope everything's well. And appreciate it. Hopefully we have you on again.
Hey, thanks, guys. Anytime. I love joining you. Take care. All the best.